Welcome back. Well, today we're looking at religious trauma points among Jehovah's Witnesses. And this is a book that was done up. I think I wasn't sure if it was done up by Avoid, but it's on Avoid JW. These are religious trauma points. And this is a guide for your therapist. This saves, if you ever went to therapy, it saves you a lot of time from explaining everything to the therapist. So you can just hand this book to the therapist. We'll take a look at Avoid, see what they have on it. It's written by G. Davis, last published February 22nd. It's very new, just put up. So this is it. About the guide to religious trauma points. It's a guide to religious trauma points among Jehovah's Witnesses. It's a 25-page document, complete with, just get on the screen here. It's complete with an insight into the harms and trauma caused by this high control religious group. In general, the public see the religion of Jehovah's Witnesses as simply another flavor of church-going Bible bashers. And the depth and span of the trauma isn't well known or much talked about, and this impacts the way in which mental health professionals view those seeking help for post-religious trauma. Now, this 25-page document is a primer designed to address this issue. It breaks down in detail the harmful power of some of the loaded terms familiar to Jehovah's Witnesses. It explains why such simple phrases as spiritually weak and worldly can be emotionally debilitating. And to illustrate many of the points, it contains numerous quotes, samples from the Watchtower's own publications. Now, this guide is available free to download. You can give it to your therapist and suggest that they lodge it in a repository for other professionals. So I'm going to put the link here so you can download it right here, English or Spanish, and you can pull that right in and into a PDF form. Well, let's take a quick look at it. A guide to religious trauma points. We're going to just look at 25 pages, so we're just going to read a little bit of it. It gives all of the PME, PMO, physically and mentally in terminology. So your therapist will know what that all means. PMO, physically in, mentally out. POME, physically out, mentally in. POMO, physically out, mentally out. Now, much of what is outlined will apply to many other groups labeled as end times or doomsday religions too. So there's other religions out there, like the Exclusive Brethren, the Seventh-day Adventists, to some extent the Mormons, Latter-day Saints. So this could help for these other religions as well. Now, it talks about the Watchtower organization, Jehovah's Witness movement. It's controlled by the Watchtower organization. Existential dread. It's an end time order. The main focus of the religion is the apocalypse, surviving the apocalypse. Disfellowshipping or removing. This practice is carried out once a baptized member accused of wrongdoing is judged to be sufficiently unrepentant. So this is a 3-man panel. Wrongdoing will include, but will not be limited to, fornication, illegal drug use, homosexuality, working at the military base, smoking, selling lottery tickets, discussing heretical ideas, drunkenness, gluttony, disrespect to elders. This list is more extensive than is given here, and the list is more extensive. In the case of the discovery of immorality by a young female member, no questions by the 3-men Inquisition are off limits during this judicial hearing. They'll ask the young girl, did you orgasm? Did you perform oral sex on each other? Did you use protection? Did he fondle your breasts? Did he penetrate you? If so, how many times? Wow. Imagine being asked that as a young girl. And their disfellowshipping will be announced at the next meeting. Shunning will then begin. Talks about the shunning practice, what's involved. It's not unique to Jehovah's Witnesses, but they'll have all their families and friends, they're ordered to cut all communications. It's a closed community religion. It means that those who are shunned will have few people outside the religion to fall back on. And children, if old enough, they will be pressured into leaving home. As mentioned previously, having no external connections, they become isolated and struggle in an environment which is alien to them. They'll have little or no streetwise education. Suicides, though uncommon, are not unknown. Adults, of course, they fare better having had work experience and street smarts. Experience. Various forms of ex-witness support groups will have posts from members saying how they only learned about the birth of a grandchild via a third party. Family members can show love for the congregation and the erring one by respecting the disfellowship decision. Higher education. It's discouraged very heavily and repeatedly. Even elders, they will lose their position, pioneers and so forth, if they're sending their kids to higher education. Celebrations. Jehovah's Witnesses notably don't celebrate Christmas, as this was determined to be pagan. Along with this prescription comes birthdays, Valentine's Days, Guy Fawkes Night, Easter, Halloween, Mother's Day, Father's Day. This is very hard on children who cannot, for example, celebrate the birthday of their classmates and being obliged to turn down party invites. Sexuality, the favorite whipping boy of many religions. Non-heterosexuality is equally condemned by this religion. Recently, in face of incontrovertible evidence, it would appear that they have come to reluctantly accept this, not as a lifestyle choice. And previously, it was seen as a chosen perversion, or as previously taught. The manifestation results in masturbation. Again, suicide is not unknown among those who are pressured to reconcile their sexuality with the restrictions imposed on them as being obligatory or non-practicing. In one video made especially for children using cartoon characters, they are taught that same-sex relationships make Jehovah unhappy. Caleb and Sophie. So there's something on the ministry and the meetings. Wrong thoughts. These can range from thinking about sexual matters, even if they're not acted on. And how do you say that word? Okay, this is called misogyny. That's a man's only religion. Women don't really have a voice. The governing body is all made up of men. The elder bodies are all men. The sound systems in the kingdom halls are roving mics. Everything is handled by a male. And at larger gatherings, those conducting traffic duties and similar attendants will be male. Men are the only ones permitted to give instructions to the congregation. And not doing enough. Can your child do more to honor Jehovah by increasing your activity in the ministry? Have you personally given serious consideration to pioneering? Do you encourage your children to pursue full-time ministry? Okay, we're only on page 9. They talk about spiritually weak, personal grooming. You can wear beards now, but you couldn't before. Women within the congregation are required to wear skirts or dresses which come below the knees and have a suitably high neckline. Sex, again, not a regulative subject solely practiced by this organization. Masturbation, for example, is a favored subject and is not shied away from in talks and sermons given from the platform to the congregation. In the past, some comments have appeared in the magazine in connection with certain unusual sexual practices, such as oral sex, within marriage, and these were equated with gross sexual immorality. On this basis, the conclusion was reached that those engaging in such sex practices were subjected to disfellowshipping if unrepentant. And that's from the Watchtower magazine.
Okay, we're gonna go for a pee and then come back.
So you don't want to talk about sex to anybody in this organization. Now, bringing reproach on Jehovah's name, that's a big one. They'll lie in court, so they don't do that. They figure that's a big deal. Hierarchy, it's a pyramid structure. Pioneers, the rank and file, or the witnesses. Then you get the pioneers, ministerial servants, elders, circuit overseers, Bethelites. Governing body helpers, the governing body themselves. And then it talks about disassociation. A witness option for leaving the organization without being shunned or limited. You can't leave, you get disassociated and you become shunned. Blood transfusions, this is another one. They prohibit blood transfusions even with kids. The children are exonerated. You see a picture of this Awake magazine. They have died and they put them in magazines and exonerate them. They make the children a hero if they die over not taking blood. And it talks about the HLC, the Hospital Liaison Committee. They're not medical professions, but they're amateurs that come in and they think they know a lot about medical stuff. Funerals, they're usually held where the family chooses them. It talks about the funerals, what happens at a funeral. Child sex abuse, there's a whole section here, and the 2 witness rules, so this will educate your therapist on that. And the childhood indoctrination, right from Caleb and Sophie, the 3D animation using young Jehovah's Witness characters. My book of Bible stories. A lot of us old timers, we've been programmed with the Bible stories book. I know I have. And so we can go through that. This goes through all the different pictures showing how the book is built. And this will help your therapist get an idea of what the religion teaches. Worldly, so your therapist will understand that he's worldly, and that you may have a bit of if you're an ex-Jehovah's Witness coming out, you may look at worldly people in a different way. Harry Potter and the prohibited reading list. So yes, they have lots of stuff that you can't look at. Stumbling, they use that expression a lot. We're only on page 17. Persecution, so you can get persecuted all kinds of different ways, especially within. Here in the box it says, if they treat Jesus in such a manner, then what should Jesus' followers expect? So they build you up so that you're going to get persecuted. It's part of being a Jehovah's Witness. And this has led to the belief that end times problems known in the Great Tribulation will result in the government's worldwide imprisoning of Jehovah's Witnesses. So they're getting prepared for that. The Great Tribulation, Armageddon. The events heralding the Great Tribulation, the worldwide persecution of the organization. Jesus to start sorting humankind into sheep and goats. The rapture of the remaining anointed, a declaration of peace and security, a collapse of all other religions, and the eventual start of Armageddon. This is what the average Jehovah's Witness believes. If you're a young person, you also need to face the fact that you will never grow old in this present system of things. Why not? Because all the evidence in fulfillment of Bible prophecy indicates that this corrupt system is due to end in a few years. Therefore, as a young person, you will never fulfill any career that this system offers. And if you're in high school and thinking about a college education, it means at least 4, perhaps even 6 or 8 more years to graduate into a specialized career. But where will this system of things be by that time? It will be well on the way towards its finish, if not actually gone. And this is right from the Awake magazine. This is what the religion teaches. Are they a cult? Absolutely, they are a cult. The Stephen Hassan bite model is good. Behavior control, information control, thought control, emotional control. This model, which can be seen in detail on the internet, breaks down these components to show how cults bring adherence into dependency and isolation. Behavior control. Dictate where and how and with whom the members live, associate, and isolates. They control the types of clothing, hairstyle, financial exploitation, manipulation of dependents, restrict leisure, entertainment, vacation time, discourage individualism, encourage groupthink, and instill dependency and obedience. Information control, distort information to make it more acceptable, minimize or discourage access to non-cult sources of information. Keep members busy so they don't have time to think and investigate. And impose the buddy system so you have other JWs monitoring you. And then they report you to the elders. Thought control. Adopt the group's map of reality as a reality. Instill black and white thinking. Decide between good versus evil. Organize people into us versus them. Insiders versus outsiders. And use of loaded language and cliches which constrict knowledge, stop critical thoughts, and reduce complexities into buzzwords. And encourage only good and proper thoughts. That's what they do. Now, emotional control, they make the person feel that problems are always their own fault, never the leaders or never the group's fault. And promote feelings of guilt or unworthiness, such as not living up to what is required. Instill fear, such as fear of thinking independently and outside the world. And of course, members will argue that their religion is not a cult, but when did anyone within a cult ever recognize this? The truth, we're on page 20. So that's a big one. Everything's the truth. The truth is based on their religion. It's the truth. So I'll just read this one a bit. It's used as a badge of identity and commitment. Are you in the truth? Or how long have you been in the truth? Or who brought you into the truth? We need to keep up meeting attendance to remain in the truth. And of course, could you be doing more for the truth? So this is a term that Jehovah's Witnesses use a lot, the truth, in their world. Satan and his demons, everything is from Satan and the demons. It's wild and uncontrolled, mentally unbalanced. The Bible, well, they don't use a Bible. They use a New World Translation. They can't call it a Bible because they've deviated from the real Bible so much. They call it a New World Translation. And it's really like a book of JW, like a Book of Mormon. It's really geared. It puts Jehovah in there a whole bunch of times that it's not in there. And they've twisted it, taken things out, put things in. Now the platform, talks, lectures, discourses, demonstrates are given from the platform, the podium, which they'll have a microphone and they'll do lectures. Reaching out, it's a double-edged term, ultimately producing stress exclusively for male witnesses. To reach out means to try to rise in the ranks, and it's directed to men. Okay, so there's a glossary of terms, page 22. Anointed starts at, and it goes all the way down to worldly. So there's a lot of terms there. This will really help your therapist trigger words and so forth. And appendix, funeral discourse guide. And ministry house-to-house records. End of month report. A sample taken when asked to provide shunning experiences on Twitter. And an experience on change.org issued intended to bring shunning to the attention of the government. And this is on point, illustrates the problems ex-witnesses have in conveying the trauma they've experienced while in the religion. I used to be a Jehovah's Witness. I've stopped going to the church on Sunday. A diagram illustrating the physical and mental commitment division. And I think that's it. Copyright by Grant Davis. All rights reserved. Okay, well, thanks a lot, Grant Davis, for getting that out to us, and thank you to ExJw for getting that out to us. I'll put a link to all this in the bottom. So this is an excellent manual that you can download. Get that out to your therapist. If you're going to take therapy, why waste a lot of sessions? Wasting sessions means wasting money. You got to pay for all that. So if you can get them this book, that'll take away a lot of questions that a therapist has, and it'll bring them up to date with what this cult is all about. Well, thanks again, folks. Keep living your day with love, and we'll see you on the next video. Bye for now.